That Big Mac combo on your receipt runs $10.19, and the burger inside is the same size it was in 1995 when it cost $2. The enemy isn't inflation, it's the menu board game, where a sandwich gets photographed 35% bigger than the one they hand you. In 2025, a federal judge said Burger King's Whopper ads go beyond puffery. The strange part isn't the cheap chains, it's the expensive one. I'll show you 3 still doing it right, including a Costco lunch that has cost $1.50 since 1985. 5 chains to walk past, 3 worth your money. Real lunch has a number attached to it, and it isn't the price. It's dollars per ounce of actual food, and once you start doing that math at the counter, you cannot stop. A sandwich that weighs 7 ounces and costs $11 is $1.57 an ounce. That is steak money for bread and turkey. Doing it properly costs the chain real money. Fresh beef that was never frozen has to be delivered more often and thrown out sooner. Meat sliced to order needs a person standing at a slicer instead of a bag of pre-cut deli meat that shows up on a pallet. Bread baked in the store means labor at 5 in the morning. Every one of those choices lands in the food costs, so most chains quietly buy their way out of it. Now the part that should bother you, federal menu rules make big chains post calories on the board. There is no rule anywhere that says the food has to weigh what the picture suggests, or that your portion has to be the same today as it was last Tuesday. Calories, mandatory. Size in your hand, completely up to them. So the whole category runs on a gap between what you can see and what you can measure. And later I'll show you a 60-second test with a kitchen scale that tells you whether you bought lunch or bought packaging. Number 5, McDonald's. This is the drive-thru you use on the way home because it's fast, and because somewhere in the back of your head it's still the cheap option. That assumption is what they're banking on. Look at the receipt. A Big Mac by itself now averages around $5.91 nationally, according to trackers pulling prices from all 50 states, and the combo with fries and a drink runs about $10.19. In 1995, that same Big Mac was $1.99. The sandwich did not change. Same 2 patties, same sauce, same sesame bun. And get this, the posted price isn't even the real price anymore. The actual deals live inside the app, so if you don't want to download a corporation onto your phone to buy a hamburger, you pay full retail. That's the fee for being normal. Nothing here is a shortcut product exactly, and that's what makes it annoying. You're paying roughly triple for their identical sandwich. The fries hit the bag hot and go limp by the time you're home. The cheese is already welded to the paper, and the reviews all say some version of the same sentence. It costs like a restaurant now, and it doesn't taste like one. Twice a week at $10.19 is about $1,060 a year through that window, on food you would not describe to anybody as good. That's a car payment spent 1 combo at a time, on a sandwich that was a coffee and a paper purchase inside your adult lifetime. And that's the thing nobody says out loud about this place. It didn't get worse. It just quietly stopped being cheap, and it kept the reputation for being cheap, because that reputation is worth more than the discount ever was. But the next one built its entire reputation on giving you more, then got sued over an inch. Number 4, Subway. This is the sandwich people order when they're trying to be sensible. Bread, turkey, vegetables. It feels like the responsible lunch, which is exactly why it works so well on you. So let's talk about the footlong. Back in 2013, a customer laid a tape measure across one and it came up 11 inches, and the photo went everywhere. Class actions followed. Subway settled in 2016 and agreed to a measuring policy. Then in 2017, a federal appeals court threw the entire settlement out, and the reasoning was blunt. The deal delivered basically nothing to customers, while the lawyers walked off with hundreds of thousands in fees. So the sandwich stayed the same, the lawyers got paid, and you got a press release. Now the price. Subway runs a footlong meal deal around $9.99 if you know the promo code. Walk-in cold, and the footlong alone lands near 10 or 11 in most markets, before chips and a drink. And in April of 2026, they did 2 things in the same month. They launched their first value menu ever, 15 items under $5, and they quietly killed the Sub Club perk, where 4 footlongs earned you a free one. Read those 2 moves together. They know the price broke. What you actually get is deli meat that was sliced somewhere else, weeks ago, sealed in plastic and laid out in a coal well. It's thin, it's wet, and the lettuce goes translucent by noon. The complaint you see over and over from longtime customers is that it isn't what it used to be, and they're not wrong about the meat. A weekly Subway lunch at $12 is about $624 a year on pre-sliced meat and a bread smell. Now, the next one doesn't shrink the sandwich. It changes how much food you get depending on who happens to be working that day. Number 3, Chipotle. This is the lunch that feels like the grown-up choice. Fresh ingredients, open kitchen, you watch them build it in front of you. That transparency is the trick because you can see everything except how much they're supposed to be giving you. A chicken bowl runs about $10.75, steak closer to $11.50, and guacamole is extra on top of that. $14 for a bowl of rice is now normal. The receipt on this one didn't come from a customer, it came from the CEO. On the July 24th, 2024 earnings call, then Chief Executive Brian Niccol told investors the company had found about 10% or more of its restaurants were outliers that needed retraining on portions. 10%. Their own number said out loud to shareholders. Shareholders sued, arguing the company had misled them about it. The case got tossed. A federal court in California decided viral complaints about skimpy portions weren't enough to prove fraud. So the portion problem is documented by the company itself, and legally, nobody owes you a thing for it. That's the part that bothers me. Two people can pay the identical price on the identical day and walk out with a 2-ounce difference in chicken, and the whole system files they're under training. You are the only person in the building without a scale. Twice a week at $14 with guacamole is about $1,456 a year on a bowl whose size depends on the mood of a 19-year-old holding a spoon. If this is already saving you from a bad shop, do me a favor and hit subscribe. We publish one of these every week, but brand number 2 is where the picture and the product stop matching so badly that a federal judge said so on the record. Number 2, Burger King. This is the one with the poster in the window. Flame broiled, stacked tall, the patty hanging over the edge of the bun like it can barely be contained by bread. In 2022, 19 plaintiffs from 15 states sued, claiming that starting around September of 2017, the company's ads showed Whoppers roughly 35% bigger than the burger that actually lands in the bag. On May 5th of 2025, Judge Roy Altman refused to throw the case out and wrote that the allegations go beyond mere exaggeration or puffery. That's a federal judge saying the picture problem is real enough to put in front of a jury. Then came the twist, and this is the one that should make you angry. Late in 2025, a judge declined to certify it as a nationwide class, ruling the customer's claims were too different from state to bundle together. So the court says it's plausible you were misled, and the same court says you cannot collect as a group. Once you see how that works, you cannot unsee it. Now unwrap one. It arrives compressed, the crown of the bun squashed flat, the patty sitting inside the edge of the bread instead of hanging over it, the whole thing about the height of a deck of cards. It isn't inedible, it's just visibly not the thing on the poster, and a Whopper meal now runs about $10 to $12 depending on your market. The most common review is some version of it looked bigger on the sign. Once a week at $11 is $572 a year on a sandwich that wears a premium costume in the photograph and takes it off in the bag. And the last one is the one I'd be most annoyed to find on my own receipt because it charges the most and it's the one that came closest to genuinely hurting people. Number 1, Panera. This is the lunch you pick when you want to feel good about lunch. Soft lighting, bakery case, the word bread right there in the name. Older shoppers trust this place and it charges accordingly. A full sandwich at Panera runs from about $10.79 up to $13.69. A cup of soup, a cup starts at $6.99, which is why the value duet exists at $6.99. And a value duet is half a sandwich in a cup. They found a way to sell you 50% of a lunch and print the word value on it. The soup, for what it's worth, arrives in the store already made and gets heated up, which is worth remembering the next time you pay $7 for a cup of it. But the receipt that matters here is the drink. Charged lemonade launched in 2022 and sat in a self-serve dispenser right next to the regular lemonade. A 30-ounce cup carried as much as 390 milligrams of caffeine, roughly 4 cups of coffee. In a cup, you fill yourself with ice while you wait on your sandwich. 4 lawsuits followed, including 2 wrongful death claims. One involved a 21-year-old college student with a diagnosed heart condition who, her family said, had no idea the lemonade was caffeinated at all. Every one of those cases settled quietly, with no admission of anything, and Panera pulled the drinks in May of 2024 without much of an announcement. In Europe, a drink that caffeinated has to carry a printed warning right on the label, high caffeine content, not recommended for children or pregnant women. Just not here. $14 twice a week is $1,456 a year at the chain that needed a courtroom to work out what belongs next to the ice machine. So here's the 60-second test I promise, and you can run it on the lunch already sitting in your kitchen. Get a scale. Any cheap kitchen scale works. Take the food out of the wrapper, all of it, sandwich or bowl or burrito, and weigh only the food. Then take what you paid and divide it by the ounces. A good result is 50 cents an ounce or less. That's real lunch. A quarter-pound hot dog with a soda for $1.50 is nowhere near that number, and neither is a sub where you stood there and watched them cut the meat. A bad result is anything over $1 an ounce. An $11 sandwich weighing 7 ounces is $1.57 an ounce, and at that point you aren't buying food. You're buying paper, a logo, and a photograph. What it means is simple. Every chain on the skip list fails this test on purpose because packaging and marketing are cheaper than beef, and a picture is cheaper than both. Every chain in the next half of this video passes it, which is the entire reason they're on it. Now, if you've made it this far, here's the payoff. 3 lunch chains that are actually what they say they are, and one of them costs about the same as a Subway footlong. The surprise isn't that these places are better, it's how little they had to do to stay honest. Rule number 3, the Costco food court. Costco opened in 1983, started by Jim Sinegal and Jeff Brotman, and Sinegal's position was that if you break a customer's trust on price, you never get it back. The hot dog and soda combo went on the menu at $1.50. It is still $1.50, 40 plus years, through every recession, every beef spike, and every executive who surely ran the numbers and suggested $2. They lose money on it deliberately. Company leadership has been openly stubborn about that price for decades, treating it as a promise instead of a line item. Beef went up, buns went up, labor went way up. They absorbed all of it because the food court exists to make you trust the rest of the building. The proof is something you can check while you're standing there. Costco brought the hot dog in-house years ago specifically to control what went into it. And it's a quarter pound, all beef, no byproducts, and no fillers. Quarter pound of beef, a bun, and a drink for $1.50. Run that through the ounce test and it isn't close. Nothing else in this country is in the same conversation. Nobody calls it gourmet. They call it the last honest lunch in America, and they say it with a straight face. You'll find it at the front of every warehouse. Most windows will serve you without hunting down a membership card, and they'll even swap the soda for bottled water now. Look for the counter by the exit doors, under the sign that hasn't changed since the Reagan administration. Rule number 2, Culver's. Craig and Leah Culver opened the first one in 1984 in Sauk City, Wisconsin, with their parents in a beaten-up drive-in they bought and rebuilt themselves. The problem they were solving is the one every burger chain solved with a freezer. They just refused to. The beef is never frozen and gets seared to order, which means more frequent delivery, tighter waste, and cooks who can't drop a frozen puck on a conveyor and walk away. That costs them margin on every burger they sell. Fresh beef and cooking to order run meaningfully higher than frozen patties. And I'll call that an estimate rather than a published figure, but it's also exactly why almost nobody else does it. The proof you can verify is the weight in the receipt. You get a number, you sit down, and the burger shows up hot because it was never parked under a heat lamp. Real Wisconsin cheese instead of a slice of processed cheese product. Frozen custard made in small batches through the day rather than pumped out of a tank. A Butterburger runs around $6.39, which is less than half a Panera sandwich. The reviews all circle the same idea in different words. It tastes like a burger place from before burger places got optimized. And if this ranking is useful, hit the like button. It really helps the channel cut through the algorithm. And here's the kicker. You could make this yourself with 80-20 ground beef, a hot cast iron pan, real butter on the bun, and about 8 minutes. We'll put the method in the description. Rule number 1, Jersey Mike's. The original store opened in 1956 in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, as a little sub shop. In 1975, a 17-year-old employee named Peter Cancro heard the owner was selling, and his high school football coach, who happened to be a banker, backed the loan. A teenager bought the shop, then spent 50 years refusing to modernize the one thing everybody else did. Pre-sliced deli meat is cheaper in every direction. Less labor, less waste, better shipping, longer life sitting in the well. Slicing to order means a slicer, a trained person standing at it, and product loss on every log they cut. They kept the slicer anyway, and that decision costs them money every hour they're open. This is the best proof in the whole video, because you don't have to trust me or squint at a label. You stand there and watch them cut your meat and cheese in front of you. If you can see the slicer moving, the sandwich is real. If the meat came out of a plastic tub, it isn't. Customers describe it the same way every time. It tastes like an actual deli, not a sandwich assembled out of parts. A regular sub runs roughly $10 to $14 depending on what you order and where you are, which lands right on top of what a Subway foot-long meal costs you. Same money, same lunch hour, and only one of them cuts the meat while you watch. Ask for it Mike's way and you get onions, lettuce, tomatoes, oil, red wine vinegar, and spices. A house standard nobody value engineered. If you can't see the slicer from the register, you're in the wrong sandwich shop. Here's the one thing worth remembering. A federal judge said in 2025 that showing a burger 35% bigger than the real one goes beyond puffery, and customers still may never see $1 over it. Worst of the bunch is Panera, $14 for half a sandwich and a cup of soup at the counter, where a self-serve dispenser needed 4 lawsuits before anybody pulled it. Best is Jersey Mike's, same money as the sandwich chains, and the only one cutting the meat in front of you. On your next lunch run, do one thing. Look for the slicer, the flat top, or someone actually cooking. If your food comes out of a bag or a plastic tub, put it back. Next week, we're going after grocery store rotisserie chicken because there's a reason the cheapest bird is also the heaviest, and it has nothing to do with chicken. Drop the brand you still trust in the comments. We're building the list together. Hit subscribe if this changed how you shop today. We'll see you in the next aisle.